Joining me, Sky News contributor Kosha Garner, past chair, Parliament's Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee, Michael Danby. Welcome to you both. Let's start with Syria. Yes, there's been the change, a very, very bad man's left, but famously Tony Abbott said about Syria, it's bad and badder, neither of them are good guys. The rebels have links back to Al-Qaeda. People are saying nothing to see here yet. Makes me nervous.
Certainly does. Wise words by Tony Abbott there, because this is a very checkered picture for sure. The leader, Mohammed Jolani, he fought against U.S. soldiers in Iraq from 2003 to 2006. He then returned to Syria in 2011 and formed links with some of these al-Qaeda groups. He has been ruling over 2 million people in the Northwest Enclave, on the basis of those links with al-Qaeda and others. He's a designated terrorist by all the Five Eyes countries. Yep. And so when they say there's nothing to see here, you can actually go on the U.S. State Department's website and look him up right now, and he's a designated terrorist. So these are vicious, ruthless people. We know that everything from Christians in the Middle East have really shrunk over the time that this mess has been happening in the Middle East. And I also think there's just a bigger picture of the war on terror, which we've been told and sold for 20 years. It just feels like, for what? Because all these people seem to keep coming back and popping up again. And I don't think it's a time to rejoice, because this is a messy picture.
Look, you think all the troubles in the region are all exposed in there for us, and then we see the fall of, in very rapid time, the fall of the Assad regime in Syria. I mean, how do you see it, Michael?
Well, the satellite photos show the Russian fleet has left Latakia, which was their base. But the best news, Peter, is that the destruction of Hezbollah in Lebanon has allowed the Syrian people to liberate themselves, because they were the infantry for the Syrian regime on the ground. It allows Lebanon to eventually liberate itself from being an Iranian slave state. And yes, Jason Clare, victory over Hamas, Hezbollah and Assad is good for us in the West. We're 3/4 of the way to victory. And the last thing I'd say, Peter, might be a bit controversial, is that after January 20, if Iran continues its soundings of rushing towards an atom bomb, Bibi and Trump will finish that prospect.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to say we're going to watch that with interest. I don't think we want to get to that point, but we will watch it closely, because I do think he's going to be a game changer. This is the president-elect, of course, Kosha, gives his first interview today. He doesn't mind going into hostile media territory, unlike his candidate opponent, Kamala Harris. And the current bloke, the current incumbent, who was the president we don't even talk about anymore. All focus is on Donald Trump. He's not even in there yet. Let's have a listen to what the president-elect had to say.
I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state.
And he's got deportation plans. He wants the army involved. I mean, it's a busy first day agenda.
For sure. And, he's been very transparent about all of these issues. And it's been a decade-long thing in the making, where some of these things, like tariffs and all of that, have not been well received by the establishment. He did a little bit with it in the last term, was out for 4 years, and now he's back with a vengeance. So I think he's going to certainly push ahead further. I think Michael made an interesting point, too, about the timing of this with the last topic, that the fact that this is literally the final window before we have a new leader, all these things happening domestically and internationally, can't think it's a coincidence. So he's going to inherit a very messy picture, clearly, on every dimension, and he's going for action, but we'll see how much opposition he's going to be met with, both by the Democrats and his own party.
Just on that, the people that will sit around the table with him, his cabinet, unlike the cabinet here, they're not MPs, but they have to go through a pretty rigorous confirmation process. We've got some names that are likely to go through. We've got some that have already pulled out, and we've got particularly the Defence Chief under fire. How do you see it, Michael?
Well, I think so many of them are actually exciting prospects. I mean, I'm not a big fan of RFK in his vaccination views, but I think his views on nutrition and food additives are what idealistic people who should be in the Democrats would agree with. So Trump's been very smart in placing these high-profile people, including Elon Musk, on government waste. I think the black sheep in the family is Tulsi Gabbard. I think she may face problems in the Senate from Republicans who have concerns about her national security views. Now, if she's able to reassure them, I think most of Trump's nominees will go through. I think his Secretary of State Rubio's brilliant. His CIA director Ratcliffe is sharp as and a friend of Australia. So it's all go from here, if you ask me.
What do you think?
Yes, I think Tulsi and Pete Hegseth are right now the ones, the controversial three. It's those two plus RFK.
Will they survive?
I think so. So it is interesting where the one scalp was taken with the AG's withdrawal, Matt Gaetz, and then the bigger picture here is the role of the legislative branch versus the executive branch. Yes, they have advise and consent. That is part of the process. But there's this idea, this notion that they may be stretched too far and they're disqualifying people for things that are not dispositive for the role. So Pete Hegseth has issues with his marital past. Does that have any relevance for the role of this is the question at hand. And Trump won the presidency with a mandate. The Senate should
with
not
his own premarital and marital
correct. So we're past, like, we have to know what time it is, I think, in the world and in the country, and those things just don't matter as much as maybe they would in a time of peace and prosperity and cohesion.
But the AG replacement was better. I mean, she's experienced Attorney General in Florida, fantastic.